Welcome back to another amazing episode of WeedBudz Radio. I'm your host, Rye Russell, and these entrepreneurs that we meet in the cannabis industry never cease to amaze me. And I built a business off of MySpace when I was a teenager and Facebook when I was in college and high school. And internet marketing is something that I've seen be such a powerful tool for any industry, really. Whether you're in the film industry or whether you're in cannabis, it's likely that you use social media, you use the internet, and you probably do some advertising. And if you do not, I want to help you learn how and who you can connect with to help you maximize some of the opportunities that have eluded us here in the cannabis industry for so long. And so I'm really excited to share with you and introduce to you our next guest, because our next guest caught my attention in a very unique way. He didn't find me on LinkedIn. We didn't meet on Clubhouse. We met because I was on Facebook and I was scrolling my news feed like any of us do. And I saw an advertisement for a delivery company, for a cannabis delivery company. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. For those of you that know advertising restrictions online, especially on Facebook, there's no way that it was real. And I took a screenshot, I watched the video, I clicked it, and I went to the website, and it's real. And then I found them. I found them on LinkedIn, and I sent Shane a message, and I just sent that screenshot, and I was like, is this for real? Is this you? And we started conversing over a few months. I got to introduce him to a few of my friends who are all loud. And so, Shane, thank you so much for agreeing to hop on the show with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Amazing stuff, man. When I saw that ad, I was blown away. And as I was sharing with everyone, like I have some experience, not a lot. I'm not great at it, but enough to be dangerous in understanding some of these ad platforms. And to me, I created WeedBudz Radio. I started promoting podcasts, and I was banned almost immediately. And I haven't been able to advertise for any of my other companies on that medium, I guess, since. And so I'm like, how is this possible? And then I see you, and I sent you this message. So I got to ask you, first of all, like, do you have a background in internet marketing? Where did that come from? How did you learn this?
Yeah, great question, Buck. Back in 2017, I think we were one of the first. So I came from a background of being a campaign manager in a prominent political party in California. And my kind of job there was to handle one, door knocking. So I came from door-to-door sales, which then translated into political campaign management. And then two, that transitioned into more of a digital role where I was handling like social media and stuff. And then I handled paid ads for social media. And you want to talk about like cutthroat, you get banned in 10 seconds unless you're the big guy. Ads, those are definitely political ads, especially before Facebook made you like register as a political ad and then like introduce you to reps and got you approved. Pre 2000, like I want to say 19, before the big old Facebook scandal started to happen, it was a really bloody battle to get, political ads approved. And once you got banned, you almost never had the ability again. So you'd have to go get your friend's profile, go drive down to their house, run ads off their laptop. We learned some nuances and some tricks to bounce back and still run our ads and get them approved. And coincidentally, and luckily for us, they worked for cannabis just the same.
Amazing. Good for you. I mean, that is. Now, what led you down that path? Like, who said, Shane, I need you to figure this out in cannabis?
So it's this retailer in Orange County who was an illicit retailer who just got their real retail license. But before they got their retail license, they had gotten kicked off of WeedMaps. WeedMaps last year in January decided to remove all of their black market dealers in California. And so this guy's like, dude, I have all this infrastructure, all this overhead. How am I going to generate new customers? Is it still possible for me? I can't use WeedMaps. It's my number one customer acquisition source. And he swore to me he'd get his license in the next few months. And we decided, okay, cool. Well, let's try this out for him. Let's see what happens. For him, it was extremely profitable. He spent like $1,200 and got like, I think like 15 to 20 new customers a day.
Wow.
And so like we were seeing customer acquisition costs for just a few bucks. Every $1 we spent, every $2 we spent, a new customer came his way. From there, like one client turned to 5, which turned to 30, which today sits at over 100. So,
amazing. Good for you. Now, when you were looking to kind of build out this team, right? You made that first ad and it was successful. It worked. How did you know this was a business? How did you know that people needed this?
It was actually, so we kept hearing the same story over and over again from cannabis retailers. And it was the story of like, hey, we need a consistent source of customers. And our current strategies just aren't working. Like getting billboards isn't reliable. Marketing 100% on WeedMaps isn't reliable. Marketing in all these other sketch programmatics or media companies or whatever else hasn't proven to have a return on our investment. And so if you had one, Shane, you know, you could potentially make a lot of money with us and we'd happily pay you for it. Hearing that from like literally now a few dozen retailers kind of just inspired us, where we're just like, hey, you know, we're definitely on the right track. Let's figure out how to earn shops in ROI.
Now, how'd you build your team?
Originally, I started with somebody I met off of Instagram, kind of off of a whim. I think the immature entrepreneur thing, which is just like, anybody come here. If you're willing to work with us and you see the vision, let's go ahead and run. And originally it was my former business partners, his entire friends and family. We hired all of them. I trained them all up. We spent like 6 months really grinding and training everybody up to the point where we had something pretty sustainable and good. And then this year, we recently reset it, hired a completely brand new team, almost replaced a lot of those positions. And we found them almost primarily off of Indeed or referrals. And we had like a very heavy vetting process. Because a lot of the things that, I mean, generally, as you'll find out in this video, like a lot of them are actually pretty simple. The marketing tactics that we implement, they're not like rocket science. It's just keeping them up consistently takes a level of tenacity and takes a level of detail orientedness. Like you have to be willing to stomach bans. You have to be willing to stomach managing some high level client expectations. You have to be able to stomach our bank account getting shut down, you know, and us not being able to pay for ads for a few weeks. You have to be able to, like, there's a lot of nuances about being here. So there's a certain type of candidate we were looking for. And this year we scoped out and actually found them, thank God.
Team building's always so hard for any startup, but you know, I mean, you scale with the resources that are around you and that you have available, and then you will outgrow them and you'll pivot and adjust. And I see it in any business in almost any industry. And so that makes a lot of sense. And I love that you found that niche and then just really dominated it. And I'm excited because you obviously, I'm spoiled. You gave me an opportunity to kind of peek behind the curtain, if you will. And it's fascinating because there is no escaping the work, right? You have to get your reps in. And to your point, you might get banned. You might get shut off. Your ad account might get shut off. You can give up, I guess, and you can quit, or you can put the reps in. You can do it again. You can really create a system for doing it again. And that's ultimately what it seems like you and your team have done, is you've created a system where you can take it's almost like the old, like Muhammad Ali strategy, right? It's like the rope-a-dope. Like, you can keep hitting me, but eventually you're going to get tired and I'm going to get my ad approved.
Yeah, no, very, very similar. Yes. It's definitely more of a marathon, and every lap you go, you have to improve from the previous lap. And over time you get to a point where we can get any of that approved. Like I'm pretty confident I could get creatives of dildos getting shipped to the president's office approved right now. Like
That's a unique skill right there, because
Yeah.
it is. We know that we can get super targeted, but it's also not as easy as I want to do this, and then it happens. Like there's a lot of work. So do you mind sharing with us a little bit about your process, about your system, and the value that you and your team brings to your clients?
Yeah. So specifically with Facebook ads first, Facebook and Instagram ads, they're both actually ran on the same platform with just one ads manager. I can share my screen for a bit, but first I'll just give the overarching how it works. One of the biggest things that you have to accept is that you're gonna get banned. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how savvy you think you are, bans are gonna happen unless you have total Facebook compliance. And if you're running cannabis ads or you're transacting cannabis products over those ads, you're breaking Facebook's rules. Bans are going to happen. So the question becomes, how do you bounce back quickly from bans, and how do you keep maintaining that data and that positive momentum that you built up from running ads? Right. And so with that, you kind of have to understand exactly how bans work, what mechanisms work, how their algorithm works, stuff like that. Without getting too complicated, Facebook bans pretty much break down into 4 central bans, right? They can ban your page, they can ban your profile, they can ban your ad account, and then they can ban your IP address. And typically it's not a one or all. If you get caught with cannabis, all 4 go down immediately. You get banned, just it's done. Right. And naturally, what most Facebook marketers or what most cannabis dispensary like chief marketing officers will try to do is they'll take their friend's profile, their cousin's profile, and they'll log right back onto their IP address, try launching new ads, and then get banned all over again. And then no matter every Facebook profile that touches their device or their local network will continue to get banned over and over again. And so we actually came up with a method using these things called remote desktops. They're these virtual machines you can buy on the internet, usually for like $30 to $150 a month, depending on the speed that you want. And you can host separate IP addresses. So we can host hundreds of different IPs on our computer. By doing that, you can have hundreds of different profiles. If one gets banned, within a very short time, you can launch that second profile, get the other one. Excuse me. Within a short period of time, you can get that 4th one up, that 5th one up, that 6th one up. It is sort of a cat and mouse game where it's not, you can make it consistent at scale, especially with us, but there are, deeper levels of nuances to get into. How do you translate the data over? How do you completely protect the client so their regular Instagram page, the regular Facebook page also doesn't get banned? Little things like that, I think in the last year's journey, we've also worked out. And then the most important, hardest one, if you're trying to run cannabis retail ads, is how do you track your sales? Right, that's by far the elephant in the room, right? Because most of the time they'll have a menu that's not actually, a part of their website. It's usually an embed from Dutchie or iHeartJane or WeedMaps. Because their menu is embedded, if we send traffic to it, how do you know who came from where? Right? To the embed, it doesn't. The embed, you're just naked traffic. You're just a new sale. And so tracking that data and actually showing ROI attribution and being able to prove an ROI to cannabis retailers was actually way harder of a challenge than getting the ads approved was, which is something.
That's almost a business model in and of itself, right? Reporting is always the hardest part of any agency. And I mean, you have to have it, but it is such a critical expense sometimes.
No, absolutely. We're blessed that we've worked with such big retailers that they came with reporting infrastructure that they coached us on and we were able to implement to our clients.
Sure.
But going in naked, you could spend a lifetime, really trying to figure out what sale came from where, how to properly measure your customer acquisition cost, stuff like that, and still miss the mark.
Now, I know that you kind of have, 2 systems that you utilize for grabbing attention for your clients. And I'm curious, do these systems work for every service, client, product type, etc.? Or do you have an ideal client and customer that is tried and true for 420 on demand? That you've got it dialed in. Where are you in your agency in terms of what's the best type of project for you to work on?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. It's definitely cannabis deliveries, 100%. So like we've had Delta 8 dealers come our ways, marijuana card companies come our ways, a bunch of different companies come our ways. It's not to say that our product offering would not earn them an ROI. It's just not as big of a home run as consistently as a cannabis delivery would be. That's by far bread and butter. That's who we can make the most money for, and that's like who we actively go out and search for.
No, that makes perfect sense because we have so many people in the audience that are all in different parts of the industry. And so it's always good to know what are the best projects that we're all working on right now. And what I love about this show is now we're going into our second, I think we're almost 80, 90 episodes now of WeedBudz Radio. Yeah, it's been a crazy of for just 2018, I think we were launching at MJ Biz 2019. And it's been wild. And so I love now that we're getting to the point where we get to follow up with the entrepreneurs that we've had on. And it's like, what was perfect project, one moment, and now they've scaled and now they've got, this, or they're working on a new project and they've exited one. It's just so fun to be a part and to watch and to document the journeys, right? You and I were kind of talking about documenting earlier. And at the end of the day, I feel like that's one of the responsibilities I have in this industry of just keeping notes on all of you entrepreneurs out there, following you around. Because you are all doing so many amazing things, and the pivots happen. And in this industry, they happen more than others. And so, I'm curious, Shane, what are some of the biggest challenges? Like you've got a solid business plan, you've got a great model, you're generating revenue for clients. You're laughing when I say this, so I know that you're not immune to the bullshit that the cannabis industry brings to any business. So do you mind sharing what some of those just critical mass challenges have been for you as you've created your business?
Yeah, no. So I think one of the biggest learning lessons that we've learned, right? Because nothing's really a challenge if you learn from it. Is one, choosing your team wisely, choosing your atmosphere wisely. The cannabis industry naturally attracts a certain type of character, especially if they're smoking a lot of weed. And it's being able to look for people, not that are massively talented, but that are being able to be consistent. Consistency is one that's super important in the cannabis industry. It's something that we learned. An example would be this December, I decided to split with my business partner. I lost half of our team. We were in a lot of turmoil. Our bank account got completely shut down. We've had multiple banking issues, multiple payment processor issues, freaking.
And you're not touching cannabis. The plant.
Yeah, we're not touching the plant, right? And so that's just being a marketing service, because we know if a bank or a payment processor is Google's 420 on demand, there's a bunch of articles and case studies and our website and everything that says clearly, hey, we're a cannabis marketing agency. Because of that, the traditional guys, Stripe, Wells Fargo, Chase, all kicked us off. And so we had to go to other types of payment processors, which keep high reserves on our income, different things like that, navigating it the entire way. It takes a gut of steel, which you got to recruit for, right? So you gotta, especially on the executive team, you gotta have people who are willing to embrace challenges and almost look forward to them. It's like, how can I beat this today? All right, a bank account got banned. Thank God we prepared for this in 8 different ways. Right. And then 2, you have to look for people that are consistently going to show up day after day, even though like one day might be really, really shit. The next day might be really, really awesome. I don't know if that kind of makes sense or it pairs out to good advice, because I'm still learning to really articulate and recruit for that trait in individuals. And I've been blessed with the team we have now. But that is something, it's just, you have to have a gut of steel and you have to have the ability to remain consistent. Like if we're recruiting for that now. So like team building has been our biggest challenge.
Consistency is critical to anything, right? Whether it's podcasting, whether it's hiring, whether it's your agency. We talk about on the podcasting side all of the time that the biggest thing that's going to kill your podcast is the inconsistency. Now, I've been podcasting in a number of different shows, a number of different industries, and I make mistakes. Like, there'll be a month where I don't do a show, or, a couple months where I miss one. And so it really is about being consistent. And when you have a break from that, authentically owning it and still being a part of the community, right? So I was thinking of one show that I didn't record for a month or two, but I was still, engaged with the Facebook pages and the LinkedIn pages of that industry, so that way you're still a part of it, and you don't lose that. But ultimately, if you create a system for consistency, it's going to be one of the most significant things that you can do for your business, because you can't necessarily clone and automate Shane or Rye. You need to automate and clone the systems that we deploy in our heads. And so that could be the challenge. Like Shane and I were talking, you got to write the SOPs down for everything. So Shane, we've had the opportunity today to learn a little bit about your systems and the types of clients. And now for all the delivery companies in our audience and tuned into this, you now know you've got, Shane, you said this to me when we were talking. I said, when a customer comes to you, and one of our friends in the delivery business, when they come to you and they start working, I asked you, like, how long does a standard customer stay with you? What did you tell me?
Oh, dude, they normally don't leave, right? So and this is true not just for our marketing, it's any marketing for a cannabis retailer, right? If you can show a cannabis retailer a consistent tracked ROI, they're never going to leave you. Why would they? And one thing I love about the cannabis industry is how loyal our customer base and how loyal cannabis retailers really are, right? So those relationships, especially in this industry, it's probably true for most early industry. I just glorify cannabis because I'm in it.
Totally.
But relationships are so fucking important. I remember in December, our agency damn near shut down. We had $0 in the bank account. Bank account was fucking closed, right? And all the money got taken. There's a few clients we had just closed on like $10,000, $15,000 packages. We had $0 to fulfill on them. I had just bought my house, my girl a new car. I'm also over leveraged, didn't save correctly. It was a rock bottom. I had a whole team's payroll to still pay. The relationships I had, though, it took me all of 25 calls. We had $250,000 in the account. Yeah. People refilled, no problem. Those relationships saved our lives. It saved our agency and everything. And it just if any of you guys are watching this, we're one of those 20 phone calls, dude. I owe you guys everything. Yeah, and amazing. Yeah.
Talk about a gut of steel, bro.
Yeah.
Like making those phone calls. That's entrepreneurship 101. Like any business that has survived and thrived any length of time has dealt with that. They've had to make the calls. I was thinking about earlier. I was taking over the drive-in, and I ran out of cash. I ran out of money just before it was open. And I remember calling my grandparents and my grandparents' friends and making that tough call of, I'm getting crushed. It's a week before we're launching. I know this is going to be huge. Can we do this? Can we pull this off? And they're tough calls to make, but sometimes you have to make those calls. And lo and behold, 4 years later, exited happily. But it takes a lot of grit. It takes that gut of steel. So I really appreciate that analogy, Shane.
Oh yeah. To another 50 years in this industry, man.
Totally. Well, Shane, for those that have tuned in, they're ready, delivery companies, they're calling. What is the best way for us to stay in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the main social medias. Me or one of my team members check them pretty often. So it'd just be like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you guys use. And then the next is always our website, 420ondemand.com. You can actually go there and watch a 15-minute video where I break down literally all the secret sauce on how to run Facebook ads, how to run on Google Maps, how to make it profitable. There's a bunch of little things you can pick up from that video on our website. It's just 420ondemand.com. And then after you watch that video, you can always book an appointment with me. And then either me or a team member will hop on. So that's by far the best way. Just go to our website. It's super easy, 420ondemand.com.
Amazing. And we'll be sure to add that link to our show notes. So if you're watching or you're listening right now, head over to WeedBudZradio.com. check out this episode here with Shane, and we'll have all of his links. Connect on LinkedIn, go to 420ondemand.com, watch the video. You watch all of the videos. You are going to be blown away. This is an amazing system. And I know a lot of my friends in internet marketing that have kind of made their way here into the cannabis space are excited for the next generation of internet marketing pioneers that are really going to pioneer cannabis into digital advertising. So again, connect with Shane. Shane, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you joining us and sharing your knowledge about this topic.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. One final note, if I can,
Please.
and this is because I've checked out your audience and your podcast quite a bit. There's a lot of other fellow marketers or fellow digital proclivity like people out there in your audience. And I ask, this is my calling to you guys. Like, the cannabis space is beautiful. It's one to jump in. I'm not scared of competition. Open up your own agencies and come out, gain some retail clients, like, have fun. This is a beautiful industry. The marketing space is wide open for the grabbing. I encourage everybody to jump into it if they can.
Amen. And I echo that. I connected Shane to one of my dear friends, CJ, over at Juicebox Collective. We have to collaborate. Now, the internet's so big. What we used to be able to do as internet marketers in solo little silos and just dominate a category of online advertising, it's not the case anymore. And so thank you, Shane. Thank you so much for saying that, because you're right. We do have a lot of friends in the marketing space, the agency space, the retail online e-commerce space. And it really is time for all of us to come together and to collaborate, because we all know how damn powerful we are in our silos of what we know in digital advertising. And what happens when all of those silos come together? You're talking about a media conglomerate of collaboration and compassion that this industry, when I say this industry, I am talking about the marketing and ad industries now, they've never had the ability to connect and collaborate the way we do now. And Shane, before we conclude today, I love so much and appreciate that you said that, because I was sharing with someone the other day, I feel like where we are right now in digital advertising, e-commerce, internet marketing, the individuals like us, some of us that are a little bit older and have been here for a while, some of us that are seasoned pros, and then even some of the younger guns, right, that are coming in and learning from you and learning from some of our peers, that there's so much opportunity, and it's so big, and it's so vast, and we can't learn it all. But if we become the masters of what we're really good at and double down, think of the products we can all bring to the market together. When the sales team is now 5 agencies working together. I mean, you're talking collaboration that the madmen of the 50s, 60s, and 70s wished they could have in their creative section. So thank you so much for saying that. And I do hope that for the creatives and the marketing, I hope you connect with Shane and I as well. And let's brainstorm. And CJ, let's all get together and talk about this, because I know you all are working on some amazing projects in collaboration. That's the garage band, right? Like, that's the way that we all get to come together. I can't strum a guitar. I cannot hit the keys on a piano, but what CJ can do with funnels, what you can do with advertising, what our team can do on the media side in watching all these things. And like you said, there's some great friends with some other niches in there. So let's collaborate. Let's brainstorm. Let's get together. Let's head over to WeedBudzRadio.com, connect with Shane, fill out the form, and let's all chat again real soon. We'll see you in the next episode.